What's up, everybody? So we're back out in the shop, and in this episode we're going to talk about this anvil right here, and we're going to forge a knife on it. I figured I would go ahead and show y'all this anvil in action versus just me sitting here talking about it. I wanted y'all to see me forge something on it and see what it can do. Now, of course, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I've forged on here plenty of times. Y'all seen it in other videos, but for people who are new to the channel, I wanted y'all to be able to see an actual build done on this anvil. Now, for me, right off the bat, these people, Vevor, however you pronounce this word right here, they did send this to me for free. They said, hey, could you do an honest review on it? I said yes, but if I like it, I'll tell people about it. If I don't like it, I'm gonna tell people about it. So, we're gonna get a brutally honest review. I've got a couple of cons. They're not huge cons, but they are cons to me with this particular anvil. And then I've got a bunch of pros. So we're gonna talk about that in the outro. What I wanted to do, tell you what we're doing, and then go ahead and just get into the actual forging part of this. So we're gonna do that now, and then I'll talk more about the pros and cons in the outro. Let's get it. So before we actually get into the Anvil discussion here, I wanted to go ahead and wrap up the knife build. So this is how it turned out. Is it the smoothest thing in the world? No, it's not. But this was all forged. So other than me doing a little bit of the bevel work right here on the 2x72 and then sharpening it on the 1x30, everything else was all done hammer and anvil. So I left the spine exactly how it was whenever I was doing the forging process. You can see it transition from the handle down into the ricasso area, the flats. I forged this a little bit broader so that it had almost like a guard area right there in that little finger choil location. I think it turned out pretty good. It's really straight. It has a nice straight line going all the way down. So it's nice and even. It's really comfortable in the hand for a 3-finger knife. And then we have our snake knot lanyard at the back there. But just for a cool little simple little knife that I would almost make like a pocket sheath for, that's all integral, not bad. It's my first time actually doing this and trying to make sure everything's all nice and even on both sides. I'm surprised I was able to do it. So I'm happy with how that turned out, and we just used that Vevor anvil. Now, with that being said, let's jump down here and let's talk about the anvils. I'm gonna do my pros and cons and then we'll end it there. So now that we're down here with the anvils, we're gonna go ahead and talk about some pros and some cons and why I think that this is a good anvil and would I suggest this anvil over getting an antique anvil and things like that. Jumping straight into it with the pros and the cons. We're gonna hit it with the cons first because why not? Let's peel that band-aid off. Both of my cons that are on this anvil are located in the same location. So from here forward, the horn, there's a really big hole right here that is like you could put a whole knife down in there if you needed to. That is ridiculous. I do not like the position of this hole. I don't like that it's there. I would really prefer that it wasn't there. I understand why they put it there, even more than maybe them, because the only usefulness of it is right above where the actual bolt hole location is on the bottom, where you would bolt the base down to your anvil stand so that you can put an extension on your setup here and be able to bolt it down and have access to that all the way through. That's the only reason why I can see why they have it there. Because if you look at it, the hardy hole's in the same position on the back side so that you have access to this bolt that's down here. So you have access all the way through, and I think that's the only reason behind that. That's it. Other than that, they're just wasting surface area because you can't use this section of this horn. Also, there's a divot that it makes into the edge right here because it's pushed back this way, and it makes it to where you can't use this whole entire edge here because that weird divot is going to leave marks in your steel as you're forging. So this isn't a very useful section right here, all because of this random hole that I wish wasn't there. So that's a pretty big con for me. The other kind of small con that's specific to me is going to be the width of the horn. I don't like how wide it is. I wish it was more narrow, like this guy right here. This is nice and narrow. You can use it for a lot of things. You can't use this really broad one for as many things. It's still useful. It's still functional. If I never had this Anvil, I wouldn't know what I was missing. I would think this was an amazing horn. So, you know, the primary con here is because I have access to this one. But the cool thing is I have it, so I'll just use this one whenever I need it and this one when I don't. So we have that. Those are my two cons. Now, the funny thing is, even though it's a con, that's still a horn. That's a horn. This, you know, Harbor Freight Anvil, yeah, that's a nose. If these are horns, that's just a cartoon nose. It's flat on the top. It's not round. You cannot use it for anything that you would typically use a horn for. So the fact that they call that a horn is just hilarious. These are, and they're functional. Now, when it comes to the pros for this, the things that I really like about this Anvil, especially this one versus my vintage Trenton Ajax that's 170 pounds, I like the face on this. I like how broad it is. So how I don't like how broad this is, I like how broad this is. So this is about 2 inches wider than this one. And I think that that's awesome. Gives you a lot of surface area to forge on. Plus, it's super flat. This is not super flat. It's got a little dish to it. It's got a bunch of hammer marks. It's pretty rough, but it does its job. But this does a really good job at keeping everything nice and smooth and flat. So I really like that it's nice, smooth, wide. Plus it has good edges all the way around. I did dress them, put about an 1/8 inch round on this side and about 1/4 of an inch just over that on this side over here, so that I have 2 different radiuses. Really like that. Lets you get into cool areas like this right here and really be able to put nice crisp lines on everything. So I really like that you can do that with this, especially when you're doing plunge lines and stuff like that, as opposed to this Anvil. It's got a little bit of chips. You know, the edges aren't super even. It is what it is. It is a vintage Anvil, but you're going to spend a lot more money on this versus this, and I feel like this is a better bang for your buck. And that's going to be one of my other pros, which is a huge pro, is this, you know, around $300 that everything works on. It's nice, clean, smooth, big. It's got good weight to it, good rebound. That's awesome. Versus this, which is going to cost you about $700 to $1,000 for something like this, and you got to put work in to make it where it needs to be, and it's still not going to be perfect. When you can get this for way less and it pretty much is ready to go, that's awesome. Especially for people who are trying to get into this craft and have a smaller investment initially into it. Go this route. Don't go this route. Don't let your friends peer pressure you into going this route. Don't let yourself peer pressure you into going in this route. You need to do this. If I would have started this all over again with the knowledge I have right now, I would have went this direction and saved my money on this. I would not have bought this Anvil. I'd have just bought one of these. It'd have been that easy. It'd have been easier to get. It would have taken way less legwork because it would have just been shipped to me. I wouldn't have had to have hunted for it, Facebook Marketplace, for months upon months upon months, having to track one down in order to finally get one when I could have just went on a website, had one shipped to me. Boom, you're done. I would suggest this hands down over getting a vintage Anvil that you don't know the history of. Just go this route. Definitely don't go this route. Now, Harbor Freight did create a new Anvil that they have out right now, which is supposedly pretty decent. This one is not. It's not worth it. This is absolutely worth it. It's worth the price. I'm going to leave a link for it in the description below. It's not an affiliate link. Go check it out. Decide if you want to buy one. If you don't, that's all good. If you do, fantastic. Tell me what you think about it. If you are using one of these, I'd like to hear about that as well. Remember, there's a whole bunch of videos on these online, so if you don't want to just listen to my pros and cons, go check them out. Type in Vevor Anvil review. You'll see a lot of cool content about that with a bunch of fellow knife makers. Go check them out. But for now, that's mine. This is my spiel. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.